Bradshaw on Coach Tomlin. I played for a tough sucker and I was afraid of him and we played our asses off for him because we feared him. I don't see that in Tomlin. His chest bumping and all that. I'm selling this thing and I'm not delivering the goods championships. You've got to face the criticism. I'm sorry, but he's not my kind of coach. I've said it before. I'll say it again. So here's some of the reactions. If Tomlin gets fired right now, he'd be hired in less than 24 hours. It's not a Tomlin problem. And that's got a lot of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of replies. Let's see, it's straight up Tomlin's fault. How in the world are Rooney's being loyal to fire Canada or hire competent OC? You act like it's Tomlin's job to hire and fire people. That's a point that I have brought up in my live today, actually, that Tomlin gets a lot of criticism for things that are not even his job, personnel decisions. Like, we've overhyped this offensive line completely as a fan base in the media, and they put some of these players on a pedestal that haven't proven anything, and they just say that Tomlin has all this talent, but really Vegas has us as 8-5. We're a 2-2 team, a 500 team, basically where they had us at as a 500 team, because this is a rebuilding team. We're only, 2 years removed from Ben Roethlisberger, a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the greatest ever to do it, the greatest to ever play the game. And we're trying to put in players to fill that contract because that was a big chunk of the salary cap that he was giving up. And a lot of these offensive linemen that the Steelers put big money into the past two off seasons have just not been playing good and have not been playing up to the standard that they're being paid. Period. They're not paying up to their pay grade. Period. None of them. Every single week, the offensive line is just getting demolished and the Steelers are getting beat at the point of attack. Isn't it the head coach's responsibility for the staff and most an organization? It is not with the Rooneys, who've always been hands-on owners and take control of anything that has to do with loyalty. Absolutely not true. The GM previously, Kevin Colbert, was always responsible for managing coaching staff. Now he's gone. Most of it went to Tomlin. That's a lie. Because multiple MIGs. Tomlin, they who's asked about that question, do you want to take on a GM role? No. So there's a lot of things. The draft, which there's been horrible drafts under Kevin Colbert, that is not Mike Tomlin's fault. Kevin Colbert gave Ben Roethlisberger that big deal that really set the team back for like 3 or 4 years. That set the team back, not because he wasn't good, but the fact that he got hurt, and after the injury, he was never the same. And that injury just was like 2 games into the season of when he just got signed on that deal. So it was just a horrible timing for that injury to happen for the Steelers. And he was still able to produce a winning season with Devlin Duck Hodges starting at quarterback with Mason Rudolph. So Terry's right. Here's some more of the reactions. Cue up numerous clips of Terry coming to the sideline, fearing Noel's wrath. I know different players, different era. Still, he's not wrong. Love TB12, but Bradshaw needs to sit down. He avoided Pittsburgh for so many decades because Chuck was mean to him while delivering on those championships. Please. This dude posts shit from 8 to 9 years ago and posted as it's new. You did the same thing last year. Do you look forward to it in 2024? The game changed and changed. This price of survival and TB12 showing he hasn't changed. Tom Landry wore a hat and coat and tie on the sideline. It doesn't play anymore. Tomlin's sin is sticking with Canada for this year. We're going to pay the price. I mean, is that even his decision to fire Canada? I mean, the Rooneys have him on contract. They're just going to that's how they do business. They're going to give the guy his 3-year window to do something. Like, you have a 3-year window, Canada, and, he failed on his opportunity. The Steelers are about opportunities. The Rooneys are about opportunities. Even though Canada hasn't fit the bill. Maybe they should have went, but they like to hire in-house too. I mean, you can criticize that, but, building in-house sometimes is the best way to do things. And going out there and signing all these new name coaches and no-name coaches, they're a risk too. It's all a risk. But in-house, you build continuity and you build chemistry within the organization. And tearing it down 4 games into the season is not a way to build continuity and chemistry. There's a lot of things you can analyze now. We're 4 games into the season. We just played the Houston Texans, who are the 31st team in the league, against the rush. And the Steelers did not even attempt to run the ball 20 times. At least with Najee Harris, he only touched that, I forget, 13, 14, 50 times? He had 71 yards, 5 yards a clip. So you give him the amount of carries he needs, which is 20 to 25, it'd be a different ball game. You give him the ball on 4th and 1, he probably converts that 4th and 1, and it's a whole different ball game. The momentum is totally different. Or if you just take the 3, I mean, that was a bad coaching decision. But at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin has a .636 win-loss percentage, the greatest in franchise history. So this is why I wanted Flores and Bieniemy, because they both are hard-on players, demanding too much buddy-buddy stuff in Pittsburgh. I mean, Bieniemy would have been nice. That would have been beautiful. I mean, he went to, I think he's in Tampa Bay now. So, I mean, the Steelers should have, I mean, that would have been a beautiful pickup at him at OC. But, hey, it is what it is. The Steelers and the Rooneys are loyal. And Kenny, you know, you've seen promise and you've seen bad play. So, do we really know what we got in Kenny Pickett? He's still a young quarterback, and he can still get better, and he has work ethic, and he works, and he's first one in the building and last one to leave, put on 20 pounds in the offseason. And a lot of it, I mean, some of it's on him, some of it's on play calling, some of it's on the offensive line. It's a collective, it's a unit. And, you know, there's a lot of bad decisions that's been happening up on top with Kevin Colbert. You know, he made some bad drafts and some bad contracts and some bad moves that put the Steelers in this situation. And it was for years we was always kicking the cap down the road, trying to give Ben one more ring. And that's really what the Rooneys are about, is the loyalty. They stayed loyal to Ben Roethlisberger, and they were loyal to him, and they gave him the money because he brought this organization to Super Bowls, brought the organization to 3 Super Bowls, has some of the most comeback wins in the history of the league, some of the most passing yards. I mean, he's one of the most decorated quarterbacks, one of the most winningest quarterbacks, never to have a losing season in his entire career. Quarterback, and they stayed loyal and they stayed dedicated, and they tried to do all they could do to compete and win a championship, to where maybe, you know, we should have kept some of our first round draft picks, or maybe we shouldn't have moved up in the draft to get Devin Bush because we wanted to get that inside linebacker we thought to could put the defense over the edge, but Devin Bush really didn't turn out to be the Devin Bush we wanted. And, you know, Artie Burns is just one of those things that he just didn't pan the fuck out. He was just a bust, man. Like, that's a bad one. Jarvis Jones was another one. Bust. And letting Le'Veon Bell hold out, giving Antonio Brown all that money. That's all Kevin Colbert. Giving Ben all that money. When his best numbers of his career was with Antonio Brown and with Le'Veon Bell. And without Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger was not the same, and he didn't throw for 5,000 yards. So football it's a unit, it's a team, it's a collective, and there's a lot of blame to go around right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But right now we're currently sitting at 2-2. Tomlin has this team in a position to be in the playoffs if the season ended today, and in a position to possibly go on to win the Super Bowl. And we're in a position this week at home to beat our division rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, to be on top of the division at 3-2, which is not great, but hey, it's winning, it's competitive, and we're beating a good team in the Baltimore Ravens, who are 3-1, who just smashed the Cleveland Browns, who has beaten, who else? They lost to the Colts somehow, I believe. And then, who else did they beat? I forget who forget who they beat this year. I'm going to have to look into that more when I do my game preview and the injuries. That's another thing. The NFL season's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Injuries happen. So, you know, you can't coach that way in 2020. Half the players make more than the coach. In the days of Parcells-type coaches are gone. Belichick gets away with it because of his rings. I mean, that's another thing. Like, the media, like, if you go on the media, like, people want a cower coach to get in players' faces and yell and scream and grab players by the faces and shit. Like, you can't, the league's different. Like, the coach is probably not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to touch their players, or they'll get fined. Or, like, they can't do nothing nowadays. You can't say nothing. You can't do nothing nowadays in all of media and all of culture, bro. Can't barely hit the quarterback and touch the quarterback anymore. It's crazy. Jalen Warren's getting fined for ridiculous stuff. Quan Alexander is getting fined for ridiculous stuff. It's a different league. Definitely is a different league. Here goes Terry, run his mouth again. Nobody asked you, old fool. Tomlin has big men to thank for making him such a great coach. Now, in fairness, Bradshaw made this comment in 2018. Yeah, because you're fearing your coach is something these millionaire players want. Chuck Noll's coaching style worked for his era. It won't work today. Hell, it didn't even work in the 80s. I mean, if we're gonna argue this, like everybody, most of these Tomlin haters, basically, like buy into this cow turd narrative that you need to have offense, quarterback, fast offense, score 30 points a game. So literally, like if you have Chuck Noll, you would have the steel curtain. You'd have 4 defensive tackles playing. You're on the defensive line pretty much, and like linebackers playing cornerback. Mel Blount probably could play linebacker in today's fucking league. Shit. In today's league, Mel Blount could probably play linebacker. You got linebackers that are like 230 pounds that run like 4.40s and shit. So it's just a different league, man, and it's softer and it's just different, and they could punch each other in the face and shit, and they just get up and they go to the next play probably, and break each other's bones, and it's just a different league. Now you can't touch nobody. It's flag football pretty much. So there's pretty much the reaction on the Terry Bradshaw comment. I don't know if this is recent or what, but this dude's putting it out as recent as today, Blitzburg, via the Twitter. So I don't know. It's a pretty big account, and no matter what he said it, I mean the hate for Tomlin's coming down, obviously against his game against Houston. But like I said, we're in position right now, if the season ended, to possibly go on to win a Super Bowl with a wild card spot, and we're in position this week to be first in the motherfucking division if we beat Lamar Jackson, who we have a number on. Yeah, we shouldn't have let CJ Stroud come in and fucking dice our defense up like that. But there's no tape on CJ Stroud. We have no tape on CJ Stroud. There's nothing out there on CJ Stroud. And who knows? CJ Stroud was a high draft pick. The NFL's all about these mobile quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. Well, he's a perfect quarterback for a West Coast offense, all right? He ran it to a T. So maybe he's the next fucking big thing in the NFL, because there's not too many great quarterbacks in this league anymore. And he diced up our defense, and you got to tip your hat off to CJ Stroud, because he fucking played a great game. And Lamar Jackson, there's a ton of tape on him, and the tape is every time our defense goes against his ass, he fucking blows the game and loses the game, and our defense forces turnovers. I mean, can you expect that out of your defense every game? No, that's why we lost to the Texans. Kenny went out there, threw interceptions, and our defense wasn't able to get any sacks, wasn't able to get any turnovers. They can't fucking put up 3 touchdowns every game for the offense. So the offense got to come out here against Baltimore, show some fucking life, actually give Najee Harris the ball 20 times for once in a game this season. I think it's the 5th game of the year, so I think it's about time that you give him the ball at least 20 times, because he would have probably had over 100 yards if you would have gave him the ball. Like I said, on that 4th and 1, you give him the ball, he probably picks up the 4th and 1, and the game is in a whole different direction, in a whole different momentum. But they made a horrible call that set Kenny up to get fucking killed, because they don't care, because Kenny can't throw, because he has no time to stand in the pocket, so they can just send a blitz and stack the box all game long, because Kenny's scared to take shots down the field, doesn't have no time in the pocket whatsoever. So really it all starts up front in the horrible contracts from the people upstairs giving these offensive linemen all these horrible contracts, who are getting paid average to above average salaries for the offensive lineman position and playing very, very, very below mediocre. In every game this season, they've had very, very, very below mediocre from all five positions. So Broderick Jones, this should be his first career start, period, point blank. This should be his first career. That's going to be probably my next video. This should be Broderick Jones' first career start against the Baltimore Ravens. That's the first change. And Joey Porter Jr. is going to be getting more snaps and more reps, 100%, because we're letting these receivers gash us. Devontae Adams, Brandon Ayuk, Amari Cooper had some yards against us. And who's the other one? I don't know. Their receivers were just, I don't even know who their receivers' names are, but they were gashing us up too. Stroud was just picking it, dumping it. Dink, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, dunk. Little handoff, dink, dunk. Stroud's nice. That's all I can really say. But we got Lamar's number, and we could be sitting at first in the division. So, tired of all, come on, man. NFL season's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Who knows? Lamar Jackson might be getting carted off on the field. Kenny Pickett might be getting carted off the field. Najee might be getting carted off the field. Who knows? Gus Edwards might be getting carted off the field. Who knows? Patrick Mahomes might be getting carted off the field. Josh Allen might get carted off the field. I mean, the Jets, their season's done. Son, they went out and paid all this money, traded all these picks to get a quarterback. They're done, and their franchise is probably done for the next 10, 15 years. It's just set them back completely because they traded their whole organization away for one player. Just like Cleveland traded their whole organization away for one player. And look where they're sitting at, down there on the bottom of the division. They're supposed to win the division once again with all the hype and all the bullshit. And we're sitting here in a wild card spot with a chance to be first in the division come Sunday at home against Baltimore, which will probably be a 5-point underdog. Honestly, in this game, I'd say we're 5.5-point underdog, but we beat them as an underdog before. We've locked in their trap, took over their trap, and now it's time we don't let them walk in our trap and take over our trap and fucking smash mouth AFC North football. The way to beat them is here comes the blitz, bro. Win, lose, draw, we're going to be bringing the blitz, bro. That's just how it is. We're going to force Lamar Jackson to beat us with his arms. You ain't running the ball. Here comes the blitz, and if he makes plays with his arms and the secondary can't hold up, That's why you take the training wheels off, put Peasy Jr. in the game, take the training wheels off, get Broderick Jones in the game to help get something going on the run game because this offensive line's getting no push. So there you go. Here comes the blitz. Peasy Jr. out there on an island on their best receiver, and Broderick Jones up against the Baltimore Ravens defense. And we'll see if he's first-round draft pick worthy, I guess, come Sunday, because that should be the first move, first declaration, period, point blank. Dan Moore hurt, not hurt. Broderick Jones is starting, and Joey Porter Jr. is getting starter reps or close to starter reps.